Hey guys, Brooks here. I've been making a lot of Starlord content with the recent release of Marvel Rivals, and I've been seeing a lot of comments from you guys about wanting a guide or tutorial or my settings on how to play Starlord properly and what he's truly capable of. In this video, that's what I'm going to cover from my 100 plus hours of experience on the hero to date. Also, before we start, I've been getting a ton of questions about my crosshair and my sensitivity or just my settings in general, so I'm going to leave it in a pinned comment in the comments below, and also where you can find that information on my Twitch. But if you find this information helpful, make sure you subscribe to this channel and follow me on Twitch, and you can hang out there. That's where I'm live 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. EST every single day, except Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, playing Marvel Rivals, and so you'd find my settings and be able to ask me questions live. Starlord is one of the most versatile heroes in Marvel Rivals, and I would argue one of the best DPS/duelists that you can play. So let's break down his kit. Alright, so this is his kit. He's ranked as a level 2 out of 5 difficulty in terms of how hard it would be to use his kit. So that means he's relatively easy and a lot of people could pick him up initially. Now he has two guns, like kind of like Tracer from Overwatch, and if you've ever played Tracer from Overwatch, you know they have a lot of bloom. In this game, Starlord has pretty tight bloom, so it does pretty good damage from short and medium range, like you see here. And now we can go to his E, where it's basically an AoE. It's a short range AoE. As you can see, it doesn't do that much damage, and he gets very vulnerable because he can't move very fast or very much at all. Even though it looks like he's moving a lot, he's very vulnerable, and that's usually the ability that people die using. This is an ability I previously said that I didn't want to use, and had previously told people in my comments that I would never use it, but I've recently found ways to use it and incorporate it in my gameplay, making it even better than it was before. But more on that later. There's tech that you can get with this E where you can fly, and it makes this way more usable, although more risky, so more on that later. But if you get that down right, like I'll show you, it increases the value of this hero by like 2x. And on to his shift. His shift is the thing that makes him fly and give him one of the best mobility abilities in the game. I would pair him next to Spider-Man in terms of how good he can move around the map and with ease. This has no cooldown. It has a meter based on the fuel amount that you use. And I would rank this as a one of his best abilities because it allows you to get positions that typically most people can't get. And you can reposition in an instant, and it's really fast. And onto the right click. The right click is a roll, so if you have come from Overwatch, Cassidy roll reloads the gun, and since people would compare Starlord to Tracer, this would also be considered the blink, but the blink/roll reloads the gun and it makes you do way more damage. You need to utilize this roll, this stellar shift as I say, way more than just using it for movement. And now onto the ultimate, of course. The ultimate is what you'd be seeing clips of out of me, out of a lot of people. It gives you auto aim in the air with infinite flight. Keep in mind you can roll in the ultimate, so you get a lot of value out of this, but you'll become something people shoot at immediately when you use it. So you got to be careful. And I'll give you tips later in the video on how to survive during this ult and get the most value you can. And onto the passive. You can revive yourself with a passive that has about a 120-second cooldown if you have Adam Warlock on your team when you're playing Starlord. This is a really good passive. It's one of the best in the game for sure, because you can revive yourself anywhere on the map with your own ability, as long as Adam Warlock exists on your team. That's it. That's the simple condition. And onto the suggested combo that they have for you. I watched this. I really think it's awful. As you can see, he's already wasting the roll. He's using his E to try and finish them off. And if those bots weren't bots, obviously he would be dead. Look how vulnerable he is in his E. He's dead right there. So I'll give you a better combo that you can work with later on, but I would ignore that suggested combo entirely. Okay, onto the game style and play style you should have as Starlord. As Starlord, someone who's very squishy, has good close medium range, and also above average mobility. You need to be like a rat, a mosquito, a pain in their backside. You need to be annoying, pestering the enemy backline constantly, making them despise you and want to counter you because you're doing so much. With this in mind, you need to be primarily off-angling and flanking. You need to be shooting the squishies that actually get impacted by you shooting them up close, and you need to be shooting the healers. They don't want to be pestered when they're healing their team. They want to think about being a healer. You don't really want to be pestered from behind. You want to just like peacefully heal your team. So if you think about what it feels like to be pestered, annoyed, and poked at, you need to think about that in their shoes so that you know who you should be shooting at in a certain scenario. Who would you get the most value out of shooting when you see everyone from behind when they don't see you? Probably the healers. So this goes for almost any hero, but since you're a flanker, you should be primarily shooting the healers and squishies that are out of position. Now I would say don't shoot tanks, but I've had times where I've shot tanks and it's granted me a lot of ult charge, and you know and I know that Starlord's ult is a game changer. It will win you fights. It will kill you multi-kills after multi-kills after multi-kills. When I have ult in a fight, I'm pretty sure I'm going to win, because that is something you target the supports with and you don't have to worry about aim. You have immediate high ground. You're very mobile and you can flank with ult and just know that you're going to for sure win that fight. You have to proactively change playstyle when you start getting into ranks where people start countering you by picking different heroes and picking different playstyles for themselves, trying to counter the flank. Okay, let's do a more in-depth breakdown of how to use each ability in Starlord's kit to its fullest potential. In this clip, I'm using the full potential of each right click or roll and primary fire. Nothing fancy, just using rolls super efficiently, hitting every shot, making everything count. This shows using Starlord's most basic abilities, the primary fire and just its roll right click reload, can still get a lot done. As an advanced tip for mastering Starlord, remember that your roll has invulnerability frames. This means you take 0 damage for about half a second. If you fought another Starlord, you might have noticed that your shots are dealing no damage during their roll. Use this knowledge to win more duels and extend your survivability. It's a small detail, but incorporating this and just knowing it exists at all into your movement and escapes can make you a much better Starlord in the end. The next ability is his rocket boots that allow him to fly around, reposition, and basically you can use this to dodge and weave really well. Say if you're trying to stall a point, stay alive, wait for heals. This will definitely be something that will distinguish someone from being a good Starlord or someone that's not so good. Keeping an eye on the fuel level and making sure you're efficient with it will be key to keeping you alive, because this is what will get you out of trouble and get you where you need to be on the high ground or out of sight. Okay, literally every time I press E, you die. Every time. See, that E ability sucks. So that was me every time I would press E, and why I would say I was so heavily against it to the point where I would just never use it no matter what. I've been given some knowledge now that you can fly during it, and it does actually make a big difference. You can thread the needle a lot better now and get a lot more value out of this ability, because flying over people allows you to be way less hittable and allow you to move way faster in it, which is a problem from before because you were more vulnerable and you couldn't chase people as quickly because it was slow. The one downside is that it does use a lot of fuel and you do need to kind of get used to the button pressing, but it is something that can be done and increase your skill ceiling, making you a better Starlord who's harder to deal with. Although this tech has been found and I've been using it a lot lately, I do want to emphasize I'd rather do most of my damage with my regular primary fire, not my E. My E is still low damage and only should be used when I have no ammo and no other way to do damage. No reload, no roll, no ult. Oh, I have no fuel because I did that shit with the E. And finally, on the topic of the E, don't forget that you start your E typically when you don't have ammo, so you're going to come out of E with no ammo, so you need to remember that you can roll out of E so that when you do finish your E, you have ammo, so you can keep providing value without delay. And now we can talk about his infamous ult. This is the ult people complain about being too good. However, you are very vulnerable inside it, and although you can typically kill multiple people with the aimbot inside the flying press of Q, you still get no protection unless you opt to take angles or hide behind map cover between clips. Having a game plan on who you want to shoot before you even press Q will be a big determiner in whether you're successful or not in your ultimate and winning the fight. These little decisions make a big impact, and it's time for you to start utilizing them. Sometimes taking out the Hela that can 2-tap you and has been hitting most of their shots that game will be more of a priority than the healer beside them. You typically outdamage any healing unless it's like Luna Snow's ultimate, and these are just judgment calls you need to make before the moment and in the moment. It's immensely valuable to be intentional with all that you do. Another immensely important thing to just remember as a basic tip, you need to utilize roll in the air and have rolls ready for when you do ult, because this is what's going to squeeze out the most DPS you possibly can get out of your ult. And since it's aimbot, you really want to get as many clips out as you can before it ends. Oh. Okay, now we can get onto the optimal combo unlike the one shown in the hero preview. So in a scenario like this where you have the enemy in front of you, knowing everything we've talked about earlier in the video, we need to understand that we need to get a lot of damage out with our left click. We need to use the roll to get another super good load of damage out with our left click again. And realize that you can do that twice in a row, really. That's a lot of damage right there. So keeping that in mind, I would say an optimal combo would be doing this. Right click, more damage, right click, more damage, E, while also flying around and getting out with the extra amount of fuel and right clicks that you'll have after Eing, flying away. Because you can't stay in here forever. You're squishy and you have one of the lowest health pools in the game. You don't belong here the entire time. You're supposed to maneuver around, maneuver up, down, and just be a rat. I would only say use the E to finish them off when they're genuinely like 1 HP. Or you have no other option. The genuine point of the quote-unquote combo is to just squeeze out as much value as you can in the smallest amount of time, because you're supposed to be in and out. It's supposed to just be quick, easy, and you reposition immediately, get a new angle. Iron Fist is good against Starlord, but far away doesn't do much, but he gets so close and he's always on the flank with me. Okay, now on to counters. In my experience, counters for my playstyle and when I'm on Starlord in general have typically been people that don't need to aim very hard. So heroes like Scarlet Witch, or people that dive you and make it really, really hard for you, even you as Starlord with all the mobility in the game to get out. Heroes like Spider-Man and heroes like Iron Fist, who can like lock on and keep coming at you no matter how far you get. Those heroes are very difficult to deal with, but there is still a way to get around them. Make sure you have healing nearby and just play according to knowing their movement. I had a game where I was getting focused by both Spider-Man and Iron Fist, and I still came out on top. You just need to focus up and learn how to duel them, being aware that they really want you and they will be desperate for you. That's how you know when you're doing a lot. You've probably used the tips in this video. Be sure to go back and see the tips that you may have forgotten before, just to refresh your memory when the stress of the battle clouds your mind. Now you can enjoy this short clip and see what it looks like in real time to be countered on Starlord and how to deal with it appropriately. Obviously I was getting adequate healing, and if you know you're being targeted to this extent, like in this clip, you need to give your healers a shout, because that will save you way more times than you could expect. Bro, these guys f***ing hate me. Oh my god, they're like getting off point for so long. They hit me. Yeah. Using the tips in this video, on top of the fact that my healers were so adamant about healing me here, are the reasons we were able to come out on top. Brother. That's crazy. And finally, some tips on things not to do on Starlord. You need to understand that your life is super valuable. Yes, there's a lot of reses in the game, but no, you don't always have access to them. It's only a backup for your primary life. You cannot rely on reses to do what you need to do. You need to make the most of each life, and that means not overextending, and you need to pay attention to your fuel. Your means of getting out is entirely in your hands with how you utilize your fuel levels and positioning. High ground is essential, and the third person aspect of this game helps you better able to time your engagements, as you can see them when they can't see you. You do not want to be the one that has to have all the aggro, as again you are squishy and you will die really quickly if you take all the aggro. This is also why you take flanks and off angles, to limit aggro from the enemy team and stay in the shadows waiting for the perfect moments. Your life is super valuable, and that's why good Starlords will typically have a very high KO to death ratio. And it's for good reason. They follow tips like the ones in this video, and you'll have a super high KO to death ratio most games. I hope these tips helped out and you can make the most of them. Make sure to subscribe for more content like this, and be sure to catch me on Twitch, where I'm live every day, 4 PM to 10 PM EST, except Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, playing Marvel Rivals. That's where you can ask me questions and simply hang out with the community. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a great, amazing day. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.